Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Today, we have a very, very special guest. She is local to my area. Her name is Renee Sanchez, and I just want to thank you so much for being on the podcast, Renee. If you don't mind introducing yourself and a little bit about.
So my name is Renee Sanchez. I am a wearer of many hats. One of the really cool things about what I do is that I have the ability and availability to be able to do so many things as a female serial entrepreneur. And so I own and or manage about 7 different businesses in different capacities. And so I'm really fortunate to be empowered and empowering of other women in my community and of course around the world, and I hope that a little bit of what I can share will help inspire the next woman to pursue her dreams, her goals, and her aspirations in life.
Yes, awesome. So to get to know you a little bit better, what you do, and any business advice along the way, I'm going to ask you a series of questions. So let's just go ahead and get started with that.
All right.
First one being, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur, and what challenges did you face when starting your own business?
I actually got started with the notion or with the idea of starting my own business back in 2015, actually, or 2014, actually. It was the fall of 2014. I was pursuing my Associate of Arts in Communication Studies at South Texas College in McAllen. And it was a business communication course. And so we had to learn, I guess, kind of the fundamentals of what it is to speak professionally in a business setting. And as a student incoming from high school, that's a great course. I highly recommend a course like that. I think it's a phenomenal fundamental course for anybody pursuing any level of professional career paths. But I was a non-traditional student, so I was already in the workforce, and then going back to get my degree. And so I was 20 something years old. I think I was 26, 27 at the time. I'd already been working for about 6 years at that point. So business communication was already something I was doing on a regular basis. And so it wasn't super out of my normal element. But the assignment we had was we were kind of grouped together and we were supposed to come up with a business and then create the business model and, the marketing and the presentation for it. And me being the overachiever that I am, and of course, having to prove that I'm a better student, because I was the old lady in class, we went full force on this business idea. And so we created what, at the time, this idea of a business consulting firm that helped businesses from all walks of life and all levels to find employees. And it was like a job placement business, but it held the hand of the employee and not the employer. And so we went all the way down from the kind of clientele we wanted, what we wanted to provide. And so I went and did a whole business plan. We even created a website that was so realistic that we had people emailing the website, or which ended up routing to my STC student email, because it was a dummy email. And people were inquiring about how to sign up for this service. I thought, oh my gosh, I was like, how do you tell people this is an assignment and not real? I felt so bad. But it proved that people had this desire, this need in our community. And so that kind of ruminated with me for a while. And my initial plan was to always work in politics. I wanted to be a lobbyist. I was working in the medical industry at the time. And so I always knew that I wanted to be a lobbyist, and I wanted to have my own communication consulting firm. And I wanted to do something that helped businesses, small businesses, local businesses that didn't necessarily have the resources. So I've always had this idea, but I thought it was something that would happen after I retired. Like this was like a when I'm 65 years old sort of thing. Then I'll come back to this idea of being my own boss. So I've always kind of had that initiative, that gumption to want to be my own boss or to only answer to me. Right. But I didn't actually take the plunge or the leap of faith until 2017, right when I was about to graduate with my bachelor's degree from UTRGV. a really good friend of mine walked into my office, and I was working in a completely different field. I was working in a nonprofit agency, and came in and asked me like, well, hey, what are you gonna be when you grow up? Because you graduate next week. Like, what does your life look like? And I thought, well, I work here. Why? That's what I want to be when I grow up, I guess, work in an office setting. And it was, well, that's all you want to do, is you want to punch in and punch out kind of thing. And I kind of thought again about that assignment that I had back in 2014, 2015 when it was. And I was like, man, I hadn't told anybody outside of my husband and my family. It's like, you know what? I kind of want to be my own boss someday. Like, I think that would be cool. And he asked, okay, so what's stopping you?
Oh,
like, well, yeah. I was like, well, I have bills to pay. Like, we've got a mortgage. Like, I just got married a couple of years ago. There's things that have to be done. And he said, it only costs $24 to file for a DBA in Hidalgo County, right? And I thought, well, shit, now I don't have an excuse, so I did. The next day I went and I found a notary around the courthouse square, walked in, filled out my DBA, went back to the clerk's office and submitted it, and didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody that I had filed the paperwork. I just did it so that I would have it. And I couldn't say I didn't own a business, because according to county records, I had a business filed. So August 2017 was when I started, on paper, my business.
Wow. Awesome. Just like the fear of the unknown.
It is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was just one of those things, right? It's never the right time. If you keep waiting for the right time, it's never going to happen. So that's what I tell people now. And as a notary, and now being able to provide that sort of same level of service that I got back then, that's what I tell people when they walk into the office, because they come in scared too, and nervous, and the fear of the unknown. And I tell them, I know what this is like because I've been there. I know what you're going through. I know that the butterflies are going in your stomach and you're going crazy and you're like, you don't know if this is the right move to make. But if you believe in you, that's the biggest hurdle.
That's what matters the most. So
absolutely,
that's halfway the battle.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay, so let's see. What challenge? So those challenges, any other challenges that a newcomer, a new business owner, what advice would you give them? What are your 3 biggest tips that you would say?
For sure, believe in yourself. It's super difficult if you don't trust in your own abilities.
Right.
The world is hard enough already. Don't beat yourself down just because the world is coming after you for that. The second one would be to find a support system that isn't your family. And I say this because your family loves you, right? They just want you to be happy, and they want you to succeed in whatever fashion that looks like. But they're going to support you regardless. So they're not going to necessarily be very honest with you if things that you're doing business-wise are not necessarily the right thing, right? So, your mom's going to say, yes, Mija, I believe in you. You can do this. And whatever makes you happy, Mija, whatever makes you happy. But whatever makes me happy may not necessarily be the right move for your business. And so it's good to have an outside support system that's not necessarily obligated to support you. And the third biggest thing I think would be to give yourself grace. And that's still something that I'm even learning to work through, right? Be okay when things are not okay. I am my harshest critic. I get very frustrated very easily when things are not as easy as I thought that they were going to be. But I'm a first-time entrepreneur with certain things. And so I have to learn to forgive myself for not being perfect at the first go ahead. And so probably more than anything, that's the most important thing, is be forgiving of yourself and give yourself peace and grace, because you're still figuring it out. This is the first time that you're an entrepreneur, maybe. And it's okay if you make a mistake, or if it's okay if you don't get it right on the first, time. I know for you, Mary, that, you do taxes. When I had to do taxes for the businesses for the first time, I cried and I cried and I cried because I didn't study it. I didn't take any of the coursework. I was just Googling and YouTubing and figuring it out as I went, and hoping and praying the IRS was not going to come knocking on my door. Now I know, like, now we've gotten to a point with some of the businesses where we've got a CPA, and I don't necessarily have to worry about that portion of things. But when we first started off, it was me. Everything fell on me. And I'm not a tax preparer. That is not what I went to school for. And I didn't study any of that kind of coursework thereafter. So I had to learn to be patient with myself, that this is not going to come easy to me. I'm going to have to work at it. And it's okay that it didn't come easy. I'm going to be okay. So those are my big three, like life lessons about, being an entrepreneur or taking that leap of faith in yourself, is there will be rough days. Make sure that you have somebody in your corner that's going to give it to you straight and real. And then more than anything, be patient with yourself.
Right. No, and hanging on to that last piece of advice that you gave, it's sort of a common theme among entrepreneur women, because just yesterday I had a podcast with Marisol, and she was also saying, we were both talking about the fear, and how also it's also another part of thing is the being hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Hard can get you, and it also plays into your mental health. And that's why I had to back for a while, because if you're not pouring into yourself, you're letting it overwhelm you, everything else is going to trickle down after
I
that.
agree. And I could, when I say like give yourself grace, and I'm still working through that, I'm going to counseling for it. Like, I recognize that was something that I was lacking in that department, that I wasn't giving myself that grace as an entrepreneur. Personally, I'm great. Like, if I am not a good cook. Like, I know that is a character flaw, if you will, in my personal life. And my husband understands that, and we work through that. But professionally, I have always felt like I can get it on the first try. And when I don't, I get very upset at myself, even though, again, I've never done this before. Nobody else in my family, immediate family, is an entrepreneur. So I have no direct ties to somebody that I can ask, like, hey, how did you work through this? I'm figuring this out on my own, per se. And it's okay that I'm struggling. It shouldn't be easy. If it was easy, everybody would be an entrepreneur, right? And we would all be millionaires, and we would all be, living lavish and doing all these things. But it's meant to be difficult so that the people who get through it, it means more.
Right. Absolutely. I love that. I love that mindset that you have, because it's hard to come. It's for many people, many women, it's hard to come. But okay, so moving on to question.
Sure.
How have you overcome any gender-related obstacles in the entrepreneurial world, and what advice do you have for other female entrepreneurs facing similar challenges?
I want to say not so much, right? I don't want to say that I've encountered too much sexism. I want to say, more than anything, it's the stereotype that a young woman, and I'm not that young, but I think it's cute when men assume that I'm in my 20s. I'm like, I'll take that. But when a young woman who dresses the way that I do, because I don't normally, I'm dressed up, but I'm usually like in cocktail dresses at the office. So I don't really have a dress code. So I'm in 5.5-inch heels. I'm in mini skirts, things that you would not necessarily see a professional woman in a standard office setting wearing. So when I walk into City Hall for business meetings, or I go to the county for certain things, I know that I don't look the way that they're anticipating a woman of a professional caliber to look. That doesn't mean that I don't know what I'm talking about. That doesn't mean that I don't know how to carry myself calmly, professionally. That doesn't mean that I'm, that things are hanging out either, obviously, but I recognize, one, my body is not going to look like this for the rest of my life. So I'm taking full advantage that things fit the way that they do. But two, a strong, confident woman can wear whatever she wants and should not be judged based on her appearance. And I test that every single day. So I have heard it. I have heard the grumblings, the mumblings, the whispers. I've heard it all at every business meeting I've probably ever walked into when there's gentlemen. And the minute I open my mouth, I put them all in check.
There you go.
So, gawk or make commentary or stare or do whatever rude, condescending thing that you think that you need to do, if that makes you feel better. But I promise you that I'm probably the smartest person in that business room. I guarantee it. I know what I'm talking about, and you will not undermine my abilities just because I'm dressed a certain way. And now I almost use that to my advantage. So when we go into meetings, my business partner in another venture, he almost laughs because he's expecting, he knows it. He knows that I'm going to be dressed to the nines. I'm going to have a cocktail dress on. I'm going to have, knee-high stiletto boots on. If it's winter, I'm going to have 5.5-inch stiletto heels in the summer or whatever the case may be. And I'm not going to be dressed in a boring pantsuit, and I'm not going to have my hair slicked back a certain way. My makeup's going to be really bright. I'm usually in a very bright pink or a bright red lip. I stand out, but I stand out because I know that you're going to make an assumption of me, and that's okay. I'm going to prove your assumption wrong.
Period.
So it's not so much that it's that they don't, that I'm being treated rudely. They just don't think that I know what I'm talking about, that I'm the eye candy or the arm candy, or I'm just there to look pretty and sit in the corner and take the notes. But when I'm the one conducting the meeting and it's my business partner who's sitting on the side taking the notes, then the tone shifts.
And who's also, I'm pretty sure you're very familiar, very unapologetic about who she is. I just ran across her Instagram account, Crash Gal.
Oh, Leah, love Leah.
Right. I'm like, wow, that's such confidence. That's admiring. And you remind me of that.
Well, Leah's actually a really good friend of mine. So her and I will kind of commiserate on this like stereotypical level that the male gender likes to perpetuate on us. That, she walks into a room and they look at her and they think like, oh, really, you're the attorney? Or, what could she possibly bring to the table other than looks? And I love it. I'm like, she's got a doctor's of jurisprudence. She passed the bar exam the same way that these men did. And you're going to undermine her ability?
Right.
So, I always kind of joke, I love when women, period. I don't care what it is that you're doing. If it makes you happy, it brings you success, it brings you fulfillment, I'm good with it. I don't care if that doesn't match my lifestyle. I don't care if it makes sense to me or anybody else. If it makes sense to you and it brings you a fulfilled life, that makes me happy for you. I support you doing that. So if you want to own 7 businesses, if you don't want to own a business, you want to be a stay-at-home mom and you want to be the CEO of your home, I love that for you. I support that fully. We get so bogged down on a woman should be this or a woman should be that. No, a woman should be as loud, as proud as she wants to be.
I feel like giving you a step because that was really, really good. And you know what? Someone out there somewhere is probably going to need what you just said right now. And I hope it really does touch and goes out to whoever it needs to go to give that boost of confidence. Because if there's one thing many of us lack is confidence.
Yeah.
And we project insecurity, or we project our onto other women, which is not nice, which is not right, and it's not okay.
I'll never understand that. I won't. I'm not created that way. I can't just bring another woman down just because I don't feel like my light's shining bright enough. I can't wrap my head around that concept. So I hope it does resonate with someone who needs to hear that message, male or female, right? But obviously for women, we find ourselves usually on the short end of the stick for things. And I think that we need more females who are confident, who do have a voice, who do want to use their voice, to perpetuate that. Yes, we can do anything.
Yeah, I love that. Well, because I'm Hispanic and you're Hispanic.
Yeah.
Everybody's included, whoever's watching and whatever, all included. So on that happy note, let me jump on to question number 3. Okay, so how do you balance the demands of entrepreneurship with your personal life, and what strategies do you use to manage stress and maintain a healthy work-life balance?
I don't know. No, yeah. So my counselor, that's what we're working on. Actually, I had a huge burnout moment actually at the beginning of the year. And I sat at my desk in my office, and I've never in the years that I've been doing this, in any aspect of, the last 6 years, in this entrepreneurial journey of mine, I've never felt like, oh, I don't want to be at work. I've never felt that. It was a Friday in January, and I sat at my computer and I just started to cry. I didn't want to be there anymore. I didn't want to do anything that was on my to-do list. And I am so meticulous about my to-do lists. I have 7 planners because I have so many things going on in life. So I have to be very strategic on how I schedule things. Even personal life stuff gets scheduled. So that's for sure tip number 1. I've always been a planner. I've always been a scheduler. So even since I was in 6th grade, 11-year-old little me walked around with a planner. I was probably the only 11-year-old who did that. But I've been doing this for so many years now that it's just second nature. If I don't have my planners with me, that adds more to like my ansias, to my stress. So everything gets written down. I have a Google Calendar, and that works great for some people. I know that, we live off of our phones. And so that's just super handy for most people. Your Apple Calendar, your Google Calendar, or some kind of planning app. There are apps out there that do amazing things. I don't like that. I don't like the tech aspect of a planner. So I've invested in some really great planners through Erin Condren or through Happy Planner. Those are the ones I use almost religiously, and I walk around with them all the time. My Google Calendar just serves as a backup reminder more than anything to sync my life to my husband's life. So if I've got an event or something going on that I'm executing, he's not here wondering, are you coming home for dinner or not? Kind of a thing. So that is one way how we balance like my work and personal life. But personal life, I will say, has taken a back seat the last couple of years. And a lot of that, of course, is, my own doing, my own fault, if you will, because I have certain goals and aspirations that I want to achieve by a certain time frame. I want to be able to retire per se by the time I'm 45. That's in 10 years. So I've got to hustle now. I've got to put in the work now. And fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, I don't have children. I can't have children. And so where other people would be taking their kids to soccer practice or baseball practice or piano lessons or whatever, and that's great. I don't discount the working mom. I think she's the rock star, right? Like, I give her all the kudos because I have this time that I cram extra things into, and she's looking for free time to just breathe. Right. So working mamas out there, I promise you, you guys are killing it. You're kicking ass, and all the respect in the entire world for what it is that you do, because I could not do it. I could not balance the life that you have. So if you're waking up every morning, you have already won in my book. So just an FYI on that one, working mamas are next to God. They're saints in my book because they are handling life. Even if you don't feel like you are, you're kicking ass, I promise. But going back to that, I'm here juggling different businesses because that's what I'm trying to achieve versus, somebody else. And so I'm still figuring out how this part of my life blends in with this part of my life. Google Calendar has been working for us for at least the last 3 years to make sure that everything sort of runs on some sort of semblance of a schedule, so that, like today that I had this after work and I got home and my husband was like, hey, are we going to do anything tonight? Because sometimes on Thursdays we'll do date night. And I said, well, I've already got something scheduled. It was on the calendar, but we can do it afterwards. Or, we have to get creative sometimes. I mean, for us, a date night will, hey, I got to go to Academy. You want to go to Academy with me and go run errands with me? Sure. So we take advantage of what semblance of free time I have, or if it's something really unique work-wise that he can attend with me, I ask him to be my date. Hey, be my plus one. I would, butter him up, be my arm candy, come be the cute guy on my arm kind of a thing. And so, some days are harder than others. Some days it's, I wish that you didn't work so much. I wish that you were here more with me. He's got a standard office job. He works for a medical practice. So he clocks in at 8, he clocks out at 5, and he doesn't have to bring work home. I never turn it off. So that's why I'm in counseling, because the stress of never turning it off is definitely jeopardizing, some aspect of my personal life and is compounding some aspects of my mental health. But I recognized it. I recognized it during that burnout moment I had in January, where I literally walked away, closed my computer, left everything at the office, and I went to go get my nails done. I didn't tell anybody. I just left. And that never happens. So that's why people were freaking out. But I was very open about it. I was very honest about it. I recognized that it was something that was definitely taking a toll on me. And I think that that's all we can do, right? Is just, hey, I don't feel like I'm me right now. And I feel like I'm burning out, or I'm getting close to burning out, or I'm on the verge of tears, or whatever our triggers are, our telltale signs. And ask for help, right? There's no shame in taking a pause or hey, I just need a vacation, and saying no to the extra paycheck or whatever. Excuse me. It's going to be there. You may not, and so I'm still working through that. It's hard to take a step back from what you really want out of life when that's your hustle mentality all the time and you don't know how to turn it off. I mean, I'll get up at 3:00 in the morning and I'm like, I have an idea, and, put it down on my phone. It'll be there in the morning. And if it's not there in the morning, it wasn't as important as I thought it was going to be.
Wow. Well, thank you. I thank you so much for that transparency. Thank you so much for sharing that, because very easily we can just put a mask on and just give advice and not let people in. And it's refreshing, refreshing to see and hear when a lot of us are wearing masks and everything,'s fine. Everything's okay. Yeah. But no,
I stopped being, I don't want to say fake. That's not really the right word, but wearing a mask. I stopped portraying myself as this perfect, all put together person back in high school. And I was very open and honest with people when I was struggling with things or I wasn't happy about certain situations. And I just kind of kept that going. Now, obviously, in certain circumstances, we want to put our best foot forward. We want to, make a good first impression. And so, obviously, if you're having a crappy day and you've got to go to a business meeting and you've got to be on your A game and you're going to, fake it till you make it. That was our one act play mantra in high school. Fake it till you make it. Actually, I think if you ask Jeanette, she'll tell you. But, so it's just kind of one of those things, but it's also understanding that when you're done playing that character per se, or like working through that time frame, it's okay to take the mask off. There's a time and a place for that. Once the meeting is over, or once you're done with the first impression, be yourself. There's so much power in being yourself, being vulnerable in that. I think, you said something earlier about, to share my social media handles. My socials are open and public because I want people to see the good, the bad, the ugly. I don't hide a lot of things. I'm very open and honest about, this was a good day. This was not a good day. This is a struggle I'm going through, or I achieved XYZ. I think it helps humanize people. Social media has done a really great job in connecting people, but it's also done a disservice to people because we get to control what you see about our lives. Entrepreneurship is not all rainbows and sunshine and butterflies. I wish it was. That would be great. Are you kidding? But it's not. The reality is that, some days you don't know how you're going to pay the bills. Some days you don't know how to keep the doors open, right? And it's just being real with the people in your life, or the people who are tuning in to see what's going on with you. A friend of mine jokes that on my Instagram specifically, that I have fans, and we were talking about Leah earlier. I mean, Leah's got like 22,000 followers. I have 1,800 followers, in comparison, but I try to, build relationships through social media and have these honest connections. And I want people to see that, it's not all glitz and glamour running a business, running 7 businesses, managing an office, helping do social media for certain things. It's get your hands dirty. It's breaking a nail. It's showing up with no makeup on and yoga pants and an oversized t-shirt, and it's doing the work. Right now we're in the middle of a huge construction project. If you're familiar with the downtown Edinburgh, Texas area, we purchased the old Citrus movie theater right across from the courthouse. And so our current location, our current building, we have a co-working space in Edinburgh as well. It's inside an old JCPenney building. It was built in 1929. And so we've sort of have this affinity for old buildings, but it's myself and my business partner. With the Citrus Theater, it's, my business partner with the co-working space, and it's his family, and it's us. And we, if a wall needs to get painted at the co-working space, we're painting walls. If something spills, we're mopping. If, a toilet gets clogged, I'm in 5-inch heels and a dress, unclogging a toilet. I want people to see that. I want people to see that the day-to-day of running a business, of owning a business, of being an entrepreneur, of this idea that you can be your own boss, it is not always, oh, I'm on vacation. Oh, I'm at the beach. Oh, I get to do this. Oh, I get to do that. It's, oh, okay, cool. Somebody stuffed too much toilet paper in the toilet. Cool, that's got to get taken care of. And it doesn't matter what you're wearing, it's got to get done. So, that's what I put on my social feeds, is you will see the realities of what, stuff happens. And if I'm really busy, this is kind of going back to the fan thing. If I'm really busy and I don't post on social media because life is happening, and it's not like, I can't just like, oh, hold on, I need to, snap a really quick picture of something, I will get messages in my Instagram and my DMs like, hey, you haven't posted for 24 hours. Like, is everything okay? I have those kinds of messages because people are invested in the weird world of Renee.
Hey, and you know what? When those people reach out to you, because they, on my little pot, they
Sure.
reach out, that's so touching. Like, I didn't think anyone was paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that. Well, at least for me, I was like, you noticed that I was gone. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, or like for a really good while, and now that I'm going to say it out loud, I'm thinking like, I need to get back to doing that. I used to take a selfie a day of my outfits, again, because I'm always really dressed up. I never look like a typical office worker. So I'm always taking pictures of my shoes or what my outfit is. And it kind of became this little gimmick. And I started it during COVID because we were one of the only places open during COVID. And so I would take pictures, and it kind of helped, pass my time. And I'm sure it passed other people's time while they were stuck at home. And I stopped for a while because we started getting really busy and I didn't really have time to walk to our selfie. We have a giant selfie mirror in our co-working space, by the way. So to walk all the way to the back to the selfie mirror, to take the picture, to walk back up to the front to, go to the desk. And I would get messages, hey, have you not been going to work? I'm like, well, yeah, I go to work every day. Oh, it's because I didn't see your selfie on Instagram. And I'm like, okay, like, sorry. Like, I would feel bad that I wasn't taking these selfies. So now that I'm like, I haven't taken a selfie in a while. So tomorrow I will take a selfie and post it on my Instagram.
And I will reshare it. So
I'll tag you in it.
So that is awesome. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead, since I know you have possibly tentatively date night. I'm going to ask you one more question.
Sure.
Let's see. What advice do you have for female entrepreneurs, and what resources would you recommend to those starting out? The resources, what would you recommend?
So resource-wise, we're super fortunate now that, especially in the Rio Grande Valley, there's a plethora of resources that were not available even 6 years ago when I started this journey. UTRGV Career Center, if you were ever a student at UTPA, UTB, I don't know about TSC. I need to double check on that one because I know those schools split, but any of the University of Texas, Pan American throughout program, the UTRGV Career Center is a free resource to help you. Even if it's just, hey, in the interim, while I'm working on my business plan, I need a job to pay the bills, they can help you with that, right? Resume building, all of that. On the flip side of that, the UTRGV Small Business Development Corporation or Council, SBDC, that resource is free to the community. If you have a business idea, they will work with you to even write a business plan. They will do a market research study to see if it's even reasonable for you to do this business. Because maybe you have this idea, but it's such a heavily saturated market that it may not even be financially feasible for you to do that. They can tell you, they can give you that information so you can make an educated decision moving forward. So it's not a waste of your time or money or efforts, right? The next one would be for funding specifically. There are a lot of resources out there that, again, were not available. You've got People Fund, you've got Lift Fund. Now, these are private entities that have grants and things like that. A lot of it, though, is low payment or low interest loans for your business. After the pandemic, through the pandemic, a lot of other resources became available because obviously our economies realized, like, sure, Walmart and Amazon, they're going to be fine. But the mom and pop local stores that need to continuously stay open, to stay, profitable, to make a living, to just be around, they need help. They need resources. And so there are a lot more small business, local support grants, funds, loans, things like that at your disposal. You just have to apply for them. And so these companies, these entities are doing a really good job of getting that information out there. The UTRGV SBDC can help you kind of point in the right direction. Now, personally, business-wise, in terms of like commercial real estate, commercial business loans, things of that nature, when you're kind of getting into like a bigger scale as an entrepreneur, Lone Star National Bank, this is not a plug, this is not a commercial, this is just me speaking personally, as somebody who's used this resource. Lone Star National Bank's commercial loan division has blown me away with the level of customer service that they have. We will go to them with some kind of crazy idea and they'll say, okay, how can we help? How can we participate? So, they've been instrumental with the co-working space. They've been instrumental with the Citrus Theater. They've been instrumental in a lot of the other projects that we're working on once we get the theater going. So we've got other projects, in the works. So right now I've got 7 different businesses and things that I help manage, run, own, etc. we're getting to where that's actually going to be probably about 10. Yeah, no, I told you, me and my free time and lack thereof. But it's really just about, finding again that support system that is not just your family who believes in you. And, outside of those resources, your chamber of commerce, be a member, connect with them, learn to love them, use what they have, accessible to you, be an ambassador or go to the programming. They sometimes have free workshops for their members. We're part of the Edinburgh Chamber. And so I know that the Edinburgh Chamber, Ronnie, Nayeli, and Dulce, they have workshops all the time to benefit businesses in the area. So, the other day they had a QuickBooks training. I would not just purposely go and understand about QuickBooks on my own, but knowing that that resource was available to me, yes, I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm already technically paying for it, so why not? It only behooves me and benefits me to be better in the business world if I take these classes and resources and understand them better, right? So again, all of these things, the Valley is now realizing that entrepreneurs hold so much potential, and they're actually wanting to make sure that you survive and thrive in this kind of environment, because it is harsh. It is a harsh environment right now. Financially, I tell people, pick your battles, right? So it may not be that you jump, feet first into the fires of entrepreneurship. Maybe you have to get your feet wet and, you tread lightly. That's what I did. So when I started the DBA, I continued working at the nonprofit for another couple of months before I was comfortable leaving that and walking into that on my own. That's okay. There is no right or wrong path into entrepreneurship. The only thing that's going to stop you is you. And so with that, I will say, the last piece of advice I want to give is, especially to the ladies, right? We're focusing on you, the ladies. If you don't believe in you, who will? You are your biggest supporter. You are your biggest advocate. You have to be, because the world is harsh. And especially right now where, it's difficult for a woman to step outside of her comfort zone because there might be backlash and there might be naysayers. I say, naysayers be damned. It's in the fires of perseverance that's where you define the characters that will build you up. You will find your circle. You will find the people who believe in you as much as you believe in you. But you have to start first. And so if you go into something fully capable and fully understanding of what you can do, and you believe in yourself wholeheartedly, even when it gets difficult, even when everything around you is trying to get you to fail, believe in yourself and the people around you will also believe in you. But if you don't have that perseverance, that gumption, that fire burning within you, it's going to be so difficult. I promise you. I promise you. But I believe in you. I believe in you with my whole heart. I know that if there's something out there that you want to achieve, whether it is entrepreneurship, whether it is so that you get to a point where you can retire your family, or whether it's that you stay home and you become the CEO of your family and you run that ship, I know that you're going to do it with every ounce of your being and you're going to be amazing. So don't lose sight of that. Don't lose sight of what your goal is. Don't lose sight of what those aspirations are. You will get there. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, and it may not be next year, but be patient with yourself, give yourself grace. And one day you will achieve everything that you have ever wanted in life. And it starts now. I believe in you and I love you and you will do this.
Bravo. Bravo. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Like I said before, I really do hope this reaches someone. At least one person.
Even just the one.
Right. Thank you so much, Renee. I want to have you on again whenever
Sure.
theater comes on to live. I want to go show everybody. And
sure.
Talk to me real quick about your titles, what you do, your business. Again, please do.
Yeah. So main title is the Director of Operations for Society 204, which is a co-working community in downtown Edinburgh. I am also the office manager for Fox Real Estate Pros, which is a real estate brokerage. I am also the Director of Operations and Public Relations for the new Citrus Theater project, The Citrus Live. I have my own business consulting firm. It's called Iris Consulting. And then under that umbrella, I have Iris Notary Services. So I'm a notary public. I'm also a notary signing agent. So I can do home loan closings and assist with mortgage loan modifications and things like that. So I have got my national certification on that. I am also my mom's unpaid business manager for her arts and crafts business that we convinced her to do right before the pandemic started. So she uses us as her free, cheap labor to run her social medias and set up at vendor markets. And then I also am the co-owner and founder of Serendipity Events. It's a 360 video booth business. And so we can do everything from weddings and quinceañeras to marketing events such as boutique openings and showcasings. We've done wedding dress showcases. We've done ribbon cuttings and groundbreaking ceremonies. So kind of runs the gamut on that. And in the works, we're working on a couple of really cool projects in the city of Edinburgh as well. So once those permits get approved, then I can start advertising, the job roles and all of that. But at the end of the day, I am a wife, I am a daughter, I am a sister, and I'm a hustler. And I am very proud and so grateful for all the hats that I wear and for the people in my support system, from my husband to my parents, to my sisters, to my business partners, and everybody in between who continuously motivate me and remind me of why I do all that I do. So yeah.
It's awesome, Renee. And thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Handles?
So handle wise, I never remember what they are because there's all these apostrophes and all the things, but business wise, you can follow me for my notary business at Iris Notary Services on Instagram. And then if you go to my personal Instagram, which I said, is open and public and everybody, can see it, all of that. That one is Miss_Nae, NAE.NAE. So Miss Nene. And that one actually has the link tree that links you to all of the other socials that I am responsible for. So yeah, wear a lot of hats. I do a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I'm a very blessed woman and I am so grateful for the opportunity to share with you all. So thank you, Mary. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. And can't wait to have you back on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Renee. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Enjoy date night.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.